Like all art forms, games tend to be really derivative of one another, developers building on concepts and styles and adding their own personal twist to it. This cycle is a huge part of the human progress, and also where one of the most dominating genres of video games originates, the first-person shooter. One particular game company, Valve, is exceptionally aware of this cycle, and so they work hard to support and encourage it, so that there will be more better games that provide the creators with a creative outlet and a good source of income at the same time. In fact, this is actually how Valve got their start, using a modified version of id Software's classic Quake as the groundwork for one of their biggest franchises, Half-Life. Then when they noticed the same thing happening to them, they funded, encouraged, and published it. This is Valve's most ingenious business tactic, and it's one we can thank for the existence of Team Fortress 2. TF2 is far more revolutionary than even its own loyal fans realize at times. Not only did it shape the landscape of team-based shooters and change the lives of an entire generation, not only is it a ton of casual fun, not only is it one of the best entry-level shooters out there for being free to play, but it's also one of the first uses of loot boxes and one of the first non-World of Warcraft games to have an actual, self-sustaining economy. But we're not here to talk about TF2's status as the first huge gacha game. No. We're here to talk about what people actually play TF2 for. The gameplay. At its core, TF2 is extremely focused on individual player skill and their strengths being combined into something greater than the sum of their parts. For only 9 playable characters as opposed to the dozens most hero shooters these days have, but all of them are extremely open-ended with a lot of room for personal flair and style. With TF2's side-grade weapons, you have the option to mix and match. You can play the game in almost any way you could think of. You want to be a more active engineer focusing on pushing forward rather than holding down the fort? The Gunslinger makes that easier. You want to cover Devilman's glaring close-range weaknesses and tear through people with a giant fucking sword? Got a lot of options there. Do you want to be a very little actual help to your team, not even attacking the enemy team? You'd be surprised at how common that is. With all this variety and chaos, the game sounds like it would be a giant mess, and it most certainly is. But it's an oddly beautiful chaos, like a well-choreographed Jackie Chan fight scene. A beautiful blend of absurd comedy and genuinely cool-looking moments that works in a stunning manner. This is where TF2 gets its reputation as one of the most casual online games out there, and it's far from unfounded. But the cycle of inspiration didn't stop there. As a crew at Blizzard began working on their own team-based shooter in the 2010s. Now, I just want to take a quick moment to say that I hate Blizzard and everything that it stands for, and I deeply regret ever having given them my money in any capacity. But this new game, Overwatch, was undeniably another massive shift in the world of online games. Rather than TF2's 12-player team approach with an emphasis on individual skill, Overwatch has 6-player teams and a greater focus on teamwork. Every hero in Overwatch has their own strengths and can usually hold their own, except for Mercy. But combining their unique abilities is essential in making any progress. For example, let's look at Reinhardt, the platonic ideal of a tank class. He's big, has a lot of health, and he hits like a semi-truck, breaking the speed limit. But he's slow and he's really close range. His most important skill ends up being his shield that absorbs damage for his teammates while they rally around him on the objective and keep him alive. If Reinhardt's team doesn't play around and alongside him, he can hardly get anything done. This also goes for most of the tanks and healers to varying extents, like how people need to protect a baby diva until she can get to a new mech, and how you can get significant advantage just for standing next to Lucio in the form of a gradual healing or movement speed buff. Of course, there are a lot of people who like to work alone in Overwatch to the point where Blizzard had to add role queues so people would play classes other than DPS, but people who act like that are seen with far more disdain here than they are in TF2 because one person out of 6 messing around is a massive handicap. Team Fortress encouraged working together, but Overwatch made it a necessity. Of course, with the higher stakes, people are more uptight and more critical of their teammates, which sucks, but at least they have more than 2 classes who can heal people, and they can pull their weight in their natural fight. Now, like Overwatch, this next game has a rough business side in a variety of ways. This is due to the company who made it being the sadists who created the rage-powered money printer that is League of Legends. For this game, Riot took a completely different approach to the class shooter genre. This game has all sorts of gross business tactics, from battle passes to cosmetics that cost more than just buying a better game, to the artificial scarcity of it created early on by only printing data testers used for R or watch streamers who will play it a lot to actually play the game. However, that being said, the gameplay of Valorant itself is actually pretty solid. Instead of looking to the high-speed combat of TF2 or the support-heavy gunfights of Overwatch, Valorant takes inspiration from games focused around a bomb defuse mechanic, like the one seen in Counter-Strike and Rainbow Six Siege. There are only 5 players per team, and the time to kill is way lower than any of our other games, so the stakes are higher than ever with a massive focus on aiming and timing. Like Overwatch, Valorant has a variety of abilities each character has. Unlike Overwatch, however, they all tend to be pretty standardized and similar. You got flashbangs, detectors, molotovs, and smoke bombs, and then maybe they can have a unique ultimate. That being said, it all works surprisingly well. Valorant tends to be a lot slower than those two games, since every action has way bigger consequences. Health is more precious than ever, guns kill faster, and there's no respawning unless you have the one character that can revive people. As a result, it has a much higher skill floor than the other two games listed here, and is far more competitive, meaning a lot more being yelled at by your teammates. The gameplay loop of Valorant really isn't for me, but I do see the appeal a lot. There are, of course, tens of other team-based shooters out there that we don't have time to talk about here, but they're really important. Halo was one of the most influential shooters of all time, and to this day still has a colossal fanbase, especially with the release of Infinite. Apex Legends takes the hero shooter formula we all know and love from the 3 games we talked about today and adds it to a battle royale and a beloved spin-off to the cult classic Titanfall. Call of Duty and Battlefield Splitgate combines Halo's well-known combat with a portal mechanic invented by Valve. Do you see how it's all connected? Every shooter that comes out is inspired by another one before, and it forms a beautiful cycle of improving on and making custom touches to an age-old formula that has been mostly perfected. Except for Call of Duty and Battlefield, of course, when those poor dudes try to innovate, either their parent company hates it, or their fan base hates it. So, what did we learn today? If you've been paying attention, you would know that a team-based shooter, much like every other game genre or art form, is made up of a cycle of inspiration and innovation. People who love a kind of art will create more like it, and occasionally try new things with varying degrees of success. So at the end of the day, TF2 good, Valorant meh, screw you Blizzard, have a good night. Hey yo, thanks for watching this video, bro. I wanted to throw out some quick words before the video ends. Of course, thank you to Pretense for pledging to the Patreon, which you can go and pledge to for $1 at patreon.com/meta64, and a much larger thank you goes to Major Ghoul, who completed and utterly wrote this video to absolute perfection on their first try. Seriously, go follow their Twitter and subscribe to their YouTube. I'll have a link at the top of the screen and at the description at the top. Thanks again, Ghoul, for writing, and of course, thank you for watching.